Good afternoon, happy Savage Saturday, keepers of the cash, and here we are with Savage Saturday episode 160, and this week we're going to get into a tale about a woman named Akivasha, who appeared in The Hour of the Dragon, a feature novel-length Conan tale from Robert E. Howard, and she appeared late, probably on the 17th chapter, I think. Was a vampire woman who tried to seduce Conan, and he, of course, escaped and went on to regain his kingdom in Aquilonia. But this tale is through her perspective and a tale of her told in a different time, and we're going to get into it. But first we have the cover, Conan the Cimmerian, right there. So a great cover by Joseph Michael Linsner with Akivasha on the cover. All right, and as we go inside, we have the writer Timothy Truman, we have the artist Paul Lee, letterer Richard Starkings and Comic Craft, and then cover artist Joseph Michael Linsner, which we already know. And then we're just going to get right into the tale, and it opens, and we see this prince giving payment to these two gentlemen, which we're going to learn are tomb raiders, grave robbers, and they procure things for him. So as the tale begins, we have the descriptive text and of this prince, and it says it was delicate matter for the prince to do business with such men. And you see the prince saying, "Here's your gold, as we agreed. Now leave me." It says, tomb raiders, looters, thieves, in service to their prince, they roam the land seeking ancient temples and moldering catacombs and procuring the items he desired. And as they're leaving, you can see him opening this crate. And it says, the men had visited their patron often these past months, and he had paid them well. However, never before had they brought him treasures such as these. So there we go. We got our opening page. And we see this prince of the modern era unearthing something from these crates, which was robbed from a tomb by these two gentlemen. As we turn the page, we see the prince talking to himself. He goes, "Sweet gods, it is beyond belief, just as the Numidian Chronicles said. The sacred armlet, the spear of Nihilus, and this, blood of my fathers, is it possible?" And he's holding the bust in his hands. He says, for months he had studied the ancient language. In the faltering candlelight, he tried to read the glyphs at the object's base. Ki. And then it says, a word, Stygian, carved in stone many thousands of years before. He goes, Akivasha. And then he goes, no, it was not just a word, it was a name. He goes, gods protect me, Akivasha, as he puts it together. And then, beneath the silence of the night, there came a voice. And we see a candle, the flame flickering. In the next panel is darkness. And it says, a name, someone has spoken a name. As we go to the next panel, we can see this woman waking up. And it's going to be revealed that she is in her casket, in her tomb. It says, who dares speak it? My name, the name of Akivasha. Born across ghosts of time and night, I can feel your mind. You have read from the scrolls, touched artifacts from an age not your own. Is it knowledge you seek? Then listen. And we get the title, The Sorrow of Akivasha. So this man from the modern time has woken up this woman from an ancient time. And she's speaking to him through time. So a lot going on. As we turn the page, we're back in the burial tomb of Akivasha. And this is all descriptive text, but it's her thoughts. It says, as my father, Tuthamon, reigned over Stygia, so I, his favored child, ruled a labyrinth of crypts and tunnels beneath our god Set's temple. The darkness was my domain, and I was its mistress and queen. It had not always been so. Once I knew the warmth of the sun and the cold breath of moonlight. With adoring lovers, I reveled in purple feasts of ancient luxury. I was young and proud and beautiful. I could not bear to think of growing old, being shriveled and worn. Thus I sought the darkness. I was given life and beauty that would never fade. The priests of Set made it so. For 10,000 years I dwelled in the shadows, alone. And as we see her just walking through her temple and her tomb. And then she's telling her tale some more. And we go back even a little bit further, and she's hiding behind a pillar in one of her temples. And it says, From far away came the faint, muffled peal of a gong. I heard incantations, the tread of sandals upon the stone. Then the priests of Set appeared, on their way to the Hall of the Dead. I knew the calendar of rituals. It was not yet time for them to come, nor did they bear a slave or nomad for my pleasure. From the shadows came the scratches of my minions. They were nervous, my small, terrible ones. We waited and saw. A man was following the priests. He moved silently, stalking them like a wolf on the trail of sheep. Though he was dressed like the priests, even a fool could have guessed that he was not one of their number. As I watched, I could feel his power. So, we got Akavasha awakening over here and starting to tell the tale to the prince in the modern time. And now we are back even further as she recounts her meeting with someone that will be revealed in a page or two. But we know who it is. It says, "This was no normal man. This was no priest. He was a warrior with the bearing of a king. I could smell his sweat, his musk, the sweet, hot blood which coursed through his veins. As I had sensed him, he had also sensed me. By Set, you are no Stygian," she says. "Who are you to enter this sacred place?" As he's approaching her. And he says, "Make another sound, woman, and I will crush your throat." As he puts his hand around her throat. And we can see her thoughts, and she says, "His rough fingers close around my throat, but his touch was as light as a caress. His voice was deep scarred by a lifetime of curses and oaths, battle cries and cheap wines, made hoarse from the dry desert winds. It intoxicated me." And she says, "Do not fear, I will not betray you. You are mad to come here, a stranger and a foreigner, to the forbidden temple of Set." He goes, "I seek a priest. He's called Thutmose. Thutmose." And she goes, "Thutmose, why?" He goes, he has something of mine which was stolen." She goes, "Then follow. I will lead you to him." She goes, and he says, "Don't play with me, girl," as he grabs her by the arm. She goes, "I do not play. I have no love for Thutmose or for those damnable priests." All right. So we see Akavasha being approached by a man. She senses him. He senses her. He states his business, and they're on the way. But you can sense there is no trust. She says, "Now come," as she descends some stairs, and he follows. And he says, "Well, girl, where's Thutmose?" And she sits down on her bench, and she says, "Patience, there is no haste. What is an hour, or a day, or a century? Take off your mask, let me see your face." So she has led him into a chamber, her chamber, and for the moment, she's trying to distract him. And as she peels up his mask, we see the face of Conan. She says, "Strength, scarred flesh, a fighting man. I too knew something of scars." And then she's speaking directly to him. She goes, "There is a power in you, warrior. Great power. You could strangle a bullock. Am I not beautiful? Come to me. I will show you pleasures beyond your dreams." And as she draws closer to him, Conan gets this weird sense and pushes her away. She goes, "He was no easy prey, this warrior. So willful, so self-assured. None had ever resisted my spells before. His resistance enticed me all the more." So there we go. Her drawing up close to Conan, trying to seduce him and draw him in. And he is resisting her charms. Her literal spells. And something that she can exert. And her thought says, "His gaze fell upon the sarcophagus and the texts that were scrawled across its lacquered lid." And she said to him, she goes, "So, you are no simple barbarian. You can read our ancient language?" He goes, "Well enough." She goes, "What then do the words say?" And Conan says, "Akivasha." She goes, "Yes, Akivasha. Who has not heard of her? Princess of the Nihilus, daughter of Tuthamon, and of his father Set, the most beautiful woman in the world, it is said. Her only sin was that she loved life and all the meanings of life. To win life, she courted death." And as she's talking, she's drawn closer to Conan until her body's pressed against his. And Conan pushes the lid of the sarcophagus open and sees that it's empty. And he pushes her away and he draws his sword. He goes, "Monster, stand back." She goes, "Yes, I am Akivasha, the woman who never died." "There is fear in your eyes, warrior. Why?" "I am weary of the priests and the magicians." And the captive girl is dragged screaming through the portals in the darkness. "Stay with me. I will teach you the wisdom of all the ages, secrets that have outlived the eons in this blackness. I will make you king of the shadowy horde which revels among these tombs. Give me your lips now, my strong man. Love me, yes. As she draws closer and closer to Conan. So, there's something at play here. But our Sumerian is no fool. As she opens her mouth and she starts to bite him on the neck, she's like, love me, barbarian. And he says, away, as he throws her away. He goes, damned vampire, monster. And she goes, how dare you deny me? And then her face screws up and her fangs come out. And she's like, you will never find your way out of these tombs. You will die in the darkness. So now she's made a proclamation against Conan's life. And Conan takes off running. And she says, flee, fool, flee. I shall yet drink your blood. And Conan's going up the stone steps that she let him down. She goes, in a breath, the shadows closed around him. And these are all her pets, the flying bats and other such creatures. And he was gone. I could have followed him then. I could have slain him there, but I did not. Why? I do not know. To see him beg for his freedom or death once he was tired, famished, and lost, the revulsion on his face. And we just see as Conan flees successfully, and she is down here just contemplating why she let it happen. And she stretches out on her stand once again. She says, again, I found myself alone in the darkness, alone, with only this piteous protected beast. Through the midst of my anguish, I saw his face. The desire in his eyes replaced by disgust, yes, by revulsion. Monster, he called me. Monster. She goes, fools say I was lifted from the earth by the gods in the full bloom of my youth and beauty, to shine forever in the realm of heaven. Nay, it is in shadows that mortals find immortality. For 10,000 years I dwelt in the tombs, away from the air and the sun. Countless generations of priests kept watch over me like the caretakers of a caged beast. The only warm flesh I had known had been that of the wretches the priests had brought to me. There had been no lovers, no handmaidens, no music, no sunlight. What is time to one such as me? It is everything. It is all that I know. And then we see her creatures surrounding her. It was just a profile of her. She says, the image of him would not leave my mind. I decided I had to follow. The warrior was far ahead of me. However, how was it possible? How could he have eluded the terrible creatures that guarded my crypt? Finally, I heard sounds. First the murmur of voices, then fighting. It came from the dynastic vaults, the place of the dead. So, first she was thinking about just her situation, how she came to be in it. She decides to follow to see where Conan has gone. And as she enters that room, Conan is slaying one dude while another is coming up behind him. She goes, the predator had found its prey. Never had I seen such a display. Their desperate fire for life. The glimmer and skirl of their naked blades. The smell of their freshly spilled blood. It excited me. And you see Conan slaying these priests as Akivasha watches. And on the next page, soon enough it was over. Only the man from the north remained, towering above the dead, flecked with their warm blood. Before him lay the dry, shriveled thing on the altar. It was the corpse of Thoth Mekri, high priest of Set and adept of the Black Ring, dead for 3 millennia. A jewel shimmered on Thoth Mekri's breast, the heart of Ahriman, the mystic gem which had brought the barbarian here. As I watched, the withered brown thing which was Thoth Mekri rose, given life through Thothmi's spell. He extended his hand. The living jewel throbbed within it. The prize had been won. And you see Conan reach out to grab it. And then you see her face watching. So Conan is accomplishing his mission here, unaware that Akivasha is watching him from the shadows. Then, inexplicably, the mute dead king led the warrior from the chamber. Weakened by the presence of the jewel, I could do nothing. For a brief second, the northerner turned, and I saw his eyes. And then you see her cry a little bit. Then he departed forever. There was silence in the stagnant smell of antiquity, dust, and decay, everything I had sought to avoid. Again, I was alone in the tombs, alone with the withering dead, repelled by the suffocating fixity of their lifeless flesh in the long centuries of existence that yet awaited me. And we get an exterior shot with Conan riding away on a horse, and then we're back in the interior with her just looking down sad, and she says, alone. So she's starting to feel the emptiness that her vanity cost her so long ago, the loss of her humanity, just to stay forever young, forever pretty and beautiful. But the price is a lot to pay. She goes, or so I had thought, as something approaches her from the shadows. And it was Thoth Mekri who had just led Conan out. And you see her look, and their eyes meet, and she smiles. There are tales within tales, like dreams within dreams, the stories of things heretofore untold. For within such tales lie the threads that connect all the living and the not living. And we're back in the modern time now with the prince, and he's trying to clear his eyes from the visions he's been having. He says, no, O prince, if there is a lesson in the past, it is this: that which is thought dead may not remain so. And then, so we're seeing the prince, and then we're seeing someone reading from a scroll. And as we turn the page, you see the prince still looking at the bust, and it says in the descriptive text, it may live anew, reborn, to shadow your path, to hiss in your ear, to walk by your side. Remember this, Prince A. Remember this. And then we see Thoth Mekri looking up at the prince, telling of more forbidding times ahead in the modern age. And thus concludes our side tale of Akivasha. So I thought it was a fun story. Conan was the secondary player in this, as we got to see things through the eyes of Akivasha. Someone who condemned herself through her vanity and greed and had come to regret it. A tragic tale, yes. Something that fleshes out a villain that you only see for a little bit in a Conan tale, gives her a little more substance, and makes you feel a little bit more for her plight. People making bad decisions and having to pay for them. It's one thing. She's having to pay for eternity, which is something else entirely. But really good art, I thought. Effective art for this tale by artist Paul Lee. Great little side story by Timothy Truman to take this piece of Conan history, this character, and expand upon her and give us a more fleshed out villain for us to care about. Someone we connect with a little bit more than we could before. But what did you guys think of this tale? Did you like this little side tale of Conan the Barbarian, highlighting one of his villains from a novel, or not for you? Let me know in the comments below. As for me, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And sometimes you need something a little aside like this for a fresh perspective, something fun. And I thought this definitely fit the bill. The cover art, I give it an A+. The interior art is an A. The story is an A. So all around an A issue. And just really well done. A lot of fun to read. Before I shot this, I read this 3 times through. Just enjoying it. But that's it for today, guys. Hopefully you had a fun time with this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. And as always, keep it casual.